Hey guys, what's going on? This is Marvin. I'm back here, Marvin Burwell Photography. You can follow me on Instagram or on Facebook at Marvin Burwell Photography. Okay, what's going on now? We are now on video. Let's erase that there because now you guys have made it to video number 3. Good. What is video number 3 about? Video number 3 is talking about shutter speed. So let's wall off the aperture because we went over aperture last time, which we were answering the question, what is the distance of focus? So what are we answering when it comes to shutter speed? Now we're asking ourselves, how fast does the object move? Now, this is where we're able to correlate these two. Since we're asking what's the distance of focus or how fast does it move, your job when your camera is on manual is to ask yourself, which one is more important? And if both are important, we'll get to that one later on. Now, we're asking how fast does it move? If you're talking about, let's choose something where things move fast. Let's say a person is running on a track, okay? Now, the limbs aren't moving but so fast, but they're still moving fast, okay? It's not the fastest thing you can think of. It's not perhaps trying to catch a baseball being thrown and you freeze the baseball in midair even though it's being thrown. We're not talking about that. We're talking about limbs are moving. There's a little bit of flailing going on. What would be a decent shutter speed for that? I found that 1 in 500 and 1 in 1,000 have proven it. Now you guys take a look at the screen. That's what it's going to look like on your camera body when you're talking about the shutter speed. Shutter speed comes in fractions to whole seconds. Now, I have just fractions here. What does a whole second look like? It would look like something like this. It looks like you're measuring someone's height, but it says 0, 3. But whenever you're on the seconds, if you accidentally have the settings on seconds, it's going to say 2, and there's going to be some quote marks next to it. It's quote marks next to it because that designates seconds. And what I'm going to do is switch this camera body on, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what that looks like. So let's make the settings here go to seconds. Just so you guys, let's put exactly what I have here on the board so you guys can see it. All right. So there's 1. We have the 0.3 seconds, right? And then we're going to do another one. Let's do the one we have on the bottom here. Let's do that one, okay? And now we have the 2. Good. Let's switch these off, bring the screen back. Now, you guys take a look at your screen. You're going to see the 0.3 or 0.3 or the 2 quote unquote, right? Or the 2 inches. It looks like an inch marker. What that means is seconds. Let me give you a scenario to talk about shutter speed. You close your eyes. I tell you to open them and close them really fast. That's what a camera is doing when you take the photo. Anything that is moving when you open your eyes. Let's take the 2-second example. So the camera, you push the button. 1, 2, closes down again. Anything that moved within the time interval is going to be blurry. So now you understand why things blur when you take the photo. So you have to make the shutter speed faster. 2 seconds is too long for eyes to be open to stop something from moving. So the faster it moves, you have to have the faster instance of time than the thing moving to freeze it. So if I'm making this motion right here, I perhaps would need maybe 1 in 1,000, 1 in 4,000 perhaps to slow that down. Right? So maybe perhaps I can give you an example of that. Let's see. Let's see if we can give you guys a little something. Let's do that. All right, so 1, 2. Oh man, let's go a half a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a test. Listen up for it too. You heard 2 clicks on that. The 2 clicks you heard is the camera gathering light. Look at all that light. It's really really bright. And it's also blurry because the object was moving. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and correct the light and do the same half second. Okay? Good, there we go. And you guys are going to see this on the screen. I'll show it to you guys on the screen. But that's where it's moving. Now that's on a half of a second. So what I'm going to do is punch this back up to where it was. Now take another one. And you'll see that picture too. Matter of fact, let's get a little more light in there. There we go. And you guys will see a picture of that on the screen too. Okay? So what you have there is me showing you what it looks like when you get the shutter speed correct versus incorrect. Now, using that scenario I gave you, the eyes are shut, they open real fast and shut. If they open and shut fast enough to not see any motion, the picture will be frozen. And you'll have a crispy, frozen action photo. Perhaps someone's winding up to throwing a pitch and you caught the ball in the middle of the motion and the person is perfectly sharp. Versus if the shutter speed was too slow and you see the wave and the doubling of the hand and all that stuff from the slow shutter speed. Now, we were talking about how the shutter speed looks on your camera. I showed you guys how it looks when it's in seconds. But when it's in the normal numbers, which is going to be another picture on your screen and I'm going to show you, right? When it's in the normal numbers, 1 and 1/25, 2/50th of a second, you see this 1 with the slash behind it. That designates fractions of a second. So you need to fractionalize the time at which the eyes are open for you to gather enough light to get a crispy photo, but at the same time freeze the subject that you're taking a photo of. Basically, the more you fractionize the second, the faster the click. Let's hear some more clicks, okay? Let's go 500. Listen to the click. Did you catch it? You heard tick, very fast. It's a smaller portion of a second. It opened its eyes and shut it really fast. If there is plenty of light in the room, the picture will expose correctly if all other settings are set correctly. We're getting to that point. Take your time. However, if the number is too slow, or too fast. If the shutter speed is too fast and there's not enough light to cover that instance of a second, then you're going to wind up having a photo where the picture is frozen, but the picture's too dark and sometimes black and you can't see anything. That means it's not, the eyes of the camera are not open long enough to gather enough light based on how much light is available in the location you're in. So you can see the dilemma. If the place does not have a lot of light, then you're going to have to use a slower shutter speed, which kind of doesn't help you if the person is flailing and moving a whole lot. Now you're starting to get scenarios where other settings become important to give you more light, but they have their disadvantages too. Let's put a little combination of these two, right? It's a birthday party. The child is jumping up and down, right? You're trying to freeze the motion of the child, but the room is lit with a small lamp. Now you have the issue of, what's the distance of focus, or do I have to worry about how fast does it move? Okay, so we want the child jumping. We want to be able to see who they are, and if it's blurry, we can't. So how fast does it move is more important. Now perhaps the way the child is jumping, we need a 1 in 500 shutter speed. So we take the picture's not black, we can see something so we know whether or not we froze the child into position. If the scene is totally black and you can't see anything, you have to get the shutter speed low enough where you can see something, because you need to know if you're getting a blurry picture or a picture where the subject is frozen. The moment you're able to see something and make a determination, it's going to tell you what you're going to do with the other two settings, okay? So in this case, If the distance of focus is not very important, you're going to want to drop your aperture low enough to help pick up the light. If we drop the aperture and we hit the target amount of light that we want, now we can raise the shutter speed even more to see if we can knock out the blur. This is how these two work together. The important thing was how fast did it move, so I needed to move these numbers first. If the numbers where I can see cause the child to blur, and the number that I might need cause the photo to come up dark, I need to drop the number on the aperture to let in more light. Now I'm going to lose distance of focus, but I'm still letting in more light. If I let in enough light, I'm able to now check the higher shutter speeds, which would be more a fractionalized of a second. So instead of 1 1/25th, maybe you're at 1 1,000th, which is a faster shutter speed, right? The eyes open and close faster. Okay? Once we get the proper one, we're going to assess whether this number and that number give me enough light and they freeze the subject. Okay? That's how those two will work together. Why do I have 1 8,000th circled here? Because depending on the level of camera you buy, whether it's a consumer level, whether it's an amateur level, prosumer level, or professional camera, will determine if that's accessible. Most of the consumer level cameras, which would be the smaller camera bodies, they don't have as many options, they don't fire as many photos in a second as usual, the megapixels may not be huge. Those cameras tend to go 1 in 4,000 at the highest speed. Now why do I need 1 in 8,000? Maybe I'm at a NASCAR race and the car is driving straight towards me and I need to freeze the front look of that car. That would be moving fast enough to need 1 in 8,000. A bird is about to dive and scoop some fish out of the water, and I need to be able to catch it fast enough without it blurring. 1 in 8,000 may come in handy. Okay? Now, with that being said, you guys are going to be able to see the pictures once the video is done of that I've taken to show you examples of what it is I'm talking about. I hope you enjoy those. We have gone over aperture, which is what is our distance of focus, and we've gone over shutter speed, which is how fast does the subject move. We know as we get more fractions of a second, we can freeze the thing that we're shooting, but we're going to lose light. We know that if we lower the shutter speed and move closer to seconds, we're going to gain light, but we increase the chances of the subject blurring. So basically, the faster the subject moves, the faster the shutter speed, which is a more fractionalized second, and the slower something moves, the more we can lower the shutter speed and gain more light. What's the most common shutter speed to use in many situations? 1 in 2/50th of a second. This will usually get you through most conventions where people are doing public speaking, people sitting in a classroom, people watching a seminar, a lot of things that happen on movie sets that are not extremely fast action driven, like doing karate or boxing or sports. Usually the sports, the dancing, those things are going to require higher shutter speeds. Okay? Which is, again, we're using that opening and shutting the eye example. That is going to be your primary example on how shutter speed works the way your body does. Okay? So aperture, distance of focus, shutter speed, how fast does it move? Okay? Thanks for checking out video number 3, guys. We're going to move on to the 3rd video next. You guys are going to want to check that out because that's going to solidify our 3 of the trifecta and putting them together to show you how to get that proper exposure for your photo. Okay? Next coming up is ISO. I will see you guys